Hello, my name is Mercury, and welcome to this brand new episode of Media Buffet. Today, I'm alone, and I'll be discussing the first movie of the Alien franchise, Alien. so, we are now entering into more weird, not now more weird, but definitely going into a lot of the more famous franchises from the 20th century. Starting with Alien, I don't know if we're gonna do other horror things. I can for sure say that we're gonna do Predator because we have to cover Alien vs Predator at some point. So we are for sure going to be doing Predator. That should be coming out soon-ish. But anyways, it's a lot. It's certainly a lot of stuff that we're gonna cover here with Alien. There's 4 Alien movies that were released in 20th century. So yeah, and there's a lot more Alien movies after that. Well, not a lot. And then also the Alien Earth series coming out this year, which we will cover because I am covering this. And also we will also be covering the new Predator movie coming out next week, which is weird to say. Yeah, there's a Predator movie coming out next week. Killer of Killers, which is like an anthology movie. It's animated, all that stuff. We're going to cover that because by then, hopefully, the Predator episode has already released. So, yeah, it'll be sort of on time. And there's also Predator Badlands coming out this November. And all of them were made by the same guy who did Prey. So I think the series is in good hands. But yeah, Alien has also received like a resurgence in recent months thanks to Alien Romulus, which apparently was pretty good. We will eventually cover Romulus, but not until after covering the other movies. So that will be the last movie we will really cover from this. So obviously Alien, like the original series, which is until Alien Resurrection, which we're gonna be able to cover all of it in retro. So there's that. Then after we're done with all of those, and we're gonna be doing Alien vs Predator. Then like it's just a break between both franchises, and then they go their separate ways. When we reach when we reach like those series, and then Prometheus. After Predator, then after this one, it's Predator, the Predators or something like that, and then it's the Predator, which I heard is the worst movie of them all, and then Prey, and then we'll be all caught up. That will take a long ass time, but it is there. So yay! And then there's Romulus, after Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which I don't know. I've heard like mixed things about both of those movies, so we'll see how good they truly are. But yeah. And this is my first time watching Alien. I'm not the biggest horror guy. It's not that I get scared. That's probably like a misconception among people that know me, that I don't watch horror because I'm a fucking piss baby. I'm not. It's just that I don't really care about horror. I don't get scared easily, and honestly, with movies, it's something that I'm not being experienced, and I'm not experiencing. It's not like a game, like a horror game. Like for a horror game, I do sort of feel frightened of, because it's something that I am controlling. But horror movies and horror shows, not really my thing. I would say not really my thing. It's just I don't get scared, but I do feel tense during horror games. I will say that for the few I've played. But aside from that, I don't get scared. And I didn't get scared for this movie. We're gonna talk about that because even though I didn't get scared, I still think that a lot of the horror is done well. But this is the first alien. Again, this is sort of kind of my introduction to these old like horror movies. I mean, or old in quotation marks. I mean, yeah, technically this came out '79. I guess old is the way to put it. But yeah, no, I don't, I don't, I never watched these movies. Like I said, never watched them. Did I ever plan to watch them? Eventually, I was gonna get around to watching these movies. Eventually, I would just get bored of watching however much I was watching and just getting to these movies at some point. And I guess that point is now because I am watching these movies until I don't know until I watch all of them. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. As always, like we always start off with the effects. I don't think there's CGI here. If there is, or at least computer generated images, which is that's what CGI is. At least the effects. From what I can see, this was made with miniatures and like puppets and all that stuff. That's what I interpret from what I'm seeing. And honestly, I think it's all really great for 1979. For comparison, this movie came out the same year as Mad Max, the first Mad Max movie. And I gotta say, this movie sure has a way bigger budget. It has a budget of 8.4 to 14 million. We don't know. I guess we don't know what that budget is. Official documentation from film states that it was 11 million, but versus your numbers 14 million. I'm just gonna say 11 million. It had a budget of 11 million. So it was a much bigger production than Mad Max ever was. Mad Max was made on a what? That's 11 million in 1979. I would say it was the budget of Mad Max is between 35,000 and 400,000 Australian dollars. I'm just gonna quickly add that. I think I probably made this. 400,000, and then divide that by 2. 37.5. Okay. What am I looking for? Fuck it. 35k Australian to USD in 1979. That's such a specific fucking thing. I can't. I just know that I can't fucking do that. Okay. But it was not a lot of money. So what was the conversion rate between wait. God, that's not what I want. USD no. Australian to USD in 1979. That can't be a metric that we don't have anymore. Okay, USD / AUD rates by the Bank of England. But like it was made on a way lower budget. Again, I'm trying to find out how it was. If the fucking website that I'm trying to use would load, thank you. Okay, that is okay. April 12. I'm gonna use April 12th. Fuck it. That. So I'm guessing, what is this? USD. How do I read this? Is this USD to AUD? Fuck. All I want. So okay. Uh, I'm just so that's that's the rate. I'm just gonna go divide by 0.9071. I guess this is a number. I don't fucking know. So in USD, I'm guessing this is somewhat correct. I don't know. If I'm correct, the budget translated from USD, from AUD to USD, is $415,000 USD, almost 416,000. So it's definitely not a comparable budget, but it's still, I feel like it's still impressive for its time and for like what I guess something like a low budget movie would be called in this era, and then what a low budget movie would be called, like a high, and I guess this would be like a high budget movie. So interesting to see that dynamic. But Mad Max came out the same year, and sure, it was made on a smaller budget, but it got away with a lot of stuff. And a lot of the stunts are very impressive. And in the 70s, we had we did have. It's not like I'm not there. I'm not a fucking fossil, but like the industry had the ability to make miniatures. I fucking guess, but also puppets, animatronics. I don't know if animatronics. Maybe animatronics. Yes, animatronics. I'm mostly using the Godzilla franchise as like an example of what I'm trying to say here. Like the Godzilla franchise is the biggest example I can give that used all of these things. So yeah, but I can definitely tell it was made using miniatures, at least for the ships and then the close-ups and all that stuff. I can definitely tell. Probably some of it was computer generated. I know that Star Wars came out 2 years prior, and I know that Star Wars also isn't the best metric for a movie like Alien. I know, and something that I did for this movie is that I watched it on Hulu. I didn't watch it through other means or through like a DVD, and that's because I know that this movie wasn't really changed all that much between its original release and its current state. Unlike Star Wars, unlike A New Hope and all the Star Wars movies, those movies have been changed quite a lot. At least the original trilogy has been changed quite a lot. Oh, I just realized that the budget's the same. It's 11 million. Huh. You get a lot. You can get away with a lot into 11 million. How much is that worth now? I want to know. USD 1977 to no. Okay. 11 million. That's that much. How much is that worth now? 58 million. That is remarkably low. For that's lower than I expected, but it was the 70s, so it wasn't like I mean, okay, fine, it was a long time ago, but economically, it was. This is a big ass jump. Yeah, it was a big time. Anyways, yeah, no, I guess it's the same fucking budget for all of these, so yeah. They're made the same budget, but Star Wars has been changed quite a lot, so you can't really. So, actually seeing what the original trilogy looked like back then isn't something that's readily accessible to people. I know that the theatrical version of Star Wars was recently re-released in theaters. Or at least that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that is something that I'd never heard of. Talked about mostly. A Star Wars. That's not right. A Star Wars theatrical version. I own a theatrical code of Star Wars. Re-release. But yeah, like I said, Star Wars to the screen the first time in decades. Oh, the screen opened the festival on June 12th, and we all took cut of the film. Got it. So, it hasn't been released just yet, but I got it confused with, I think, Revenge of the Sith that recently got released in theaters. But on June 12th, which is not that long from now, the theatrical of Star Wars will be screened for the first time in 25 years, which is insane. It's insane to say, but yeah. And that was the version of the film that people had for like 2 months. Because I remember, I think Lucas made some changes for the DVD release of the original trilogy. So it wasn't the same thing that people watched in theaters. Anyways. But, like I was saying, I do trust that this movie wasn't really made like Alien wasn't really changed as much as Star Wars was. So watching it on Hulu in 4K, it kind of diminishes the actual, I guess, like quality of what it would be watching it in the 70s. But to be completely honest, that was much more of the TV's fault rather than like the televisions or like the actual screen's fault rather than the movie itself. So yeah, I think it's a pretty fair comparison. But I think the effects are really great in this movie. The Alien, yes, the Alien, I think is handled pretty well when the arms are not in frame. When the arms of the alien are not in frame, that's when it's the best. I like the shot when it's like rising and all this. Like, it looks imposing as fuck. But as soon as but again, your introduction shot that we first see it, and when we first see it, it's like it's in this. It starts walking, but the arms are like stiff, so it looks really fucking goofy. That shot is not very flattering towards the xenomorph. Let me tell you that. But yeah, that shot in particular isn't very flattering for it. But aside from that, I think the puppet. I think it's a puppet, right? Did they use a foam core, a test foam core queen? I'm guessing it's just like a foam dummy with then a full hydraulic puppet, which is used for most of the scenes of Only Large Alien. Yeah. And also, there is a lot of shots in this movie that just look really good. Like, for example, like when in the alien ship, when we see all that. I'm gonna take a fucking guess that Prometheus is going to explain that. I'm not sure what Prometheus is about. I know it's a prequel. I know Prometheus, and Alien Covenant, and now Alien Earth will be prequels to these movies. I'm going to guess that Prometheus explains. Okay, does Prometheus? I'm just gonna fucking look it up. I don't care. Not only also the famous alien space jockey as a system engineer. Okay, yeah. the black. Okay, okay. Okay. So it so it's sort of an alien movie in a way that it explains what happens in it, but there's adding aliens. Yeah, I know. Okay, cool. So yeah, it explains what happens in Alien. So that's good to know. But yeah, no, I think the effects look really good. Like the shit with the space jockey looks really good, and sure, the effects with the mist don't look the best, but again, it's the '70s. Special effects haven't reached their peak just yet, so I'm willing to forgive in this department. And overall, the movie just looks really good. The ship feels really massive. I like how dark it is. I'm gonna talk about that in the act, and like when we get to the plot, and like the whole, like, and I was talking about the horror and all that stuff. But yeah, no. I really like the everything, how the movie looks and the effects and all that stuff. Just it's really grand, and I've mostly been talking about these things how for a long time now in this episode, because next up is the characters, and the characters aren't the 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 highlight of the movie, I would say. So yeah, let's just get into them. All right, starting off with the woman herself, Ripley, the main character of the Alien movies. So what does she do here? How does she introduce? Well, she's introduced as she's not really the main focus of the movie. It's a lot more focused on everybody. It's mostly like a group. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Ripley isn't focused on. So it feels like everybody is on the same. I'm guessing that was what they were going for with the characters, that they decided to put them mostly on the same lane, so you wouldn't know who survived and who didn't. But I mean, you kind of already know. If you come into these movies, I guess just like I guess like me, like it's a non-fan wanting to watch these, you know that Ripley is sort of described as like the main character of the movies, but we don't. That's not really the case here. She isn't really focused on, and there's not much of an importance put on her aside from like her surviving and her defeating the xenomorph at the end. That's all that she really does, and she does argue with some other people. She does convince some others. She does have like an actual leader role, and I like that. Like, after Dallas dies, she takes on much more of a leader role. So yeah, there is stuff that she does. However, I feel like she had like everyone else had the same sort of collective importance that she had. So there's not much more to say about her in this movie other than like at least I don't know if that's like the point that's supposed to be like everyone's on the same footing, so you don't know who's gonna live or not. And to be honest, I think it worked well. I did not know who would live. Obviously, it's a sci-fi horror movie with an alien on a ship, like with people trapped in a ship with a horrifying alien creature. So yes, it was probably going to end up with everyone dying and Ripley surviving. However, I knew that from external stuff, from Aliens, where she shows up, and also from Alien 3, which I think that's also supposed to be her. Right? If I'm not mistaken, Alien 3 is Ripley. Yeah. Ripley. It's there. It's there. So I think Ripley, if that's the point of the character, I think it was handled well. And I guess I am looking at it through external eyes, to kind of coming to us thinking she was gonna be like the big character here, and she was gonna. I mean, she did save the day, but it was mostly just like, I guess, like a who survived situation when it comes to this movie. So aside from that, I do like what they did with Ripley's character. Next up is Dallas. I'm gonna be fucking for real. It's going to be a miracle if I can talk about them for an extended period of time. Ripley, of course, I had to talk about her for a little bit, but even then, she didn't do much in the movie like that other people couldn't have done. And I guess that's the point, really. That's the point. That anyone could have survived, but it was Ripley who survived. I think that's the point. I feel. But Dallas is, going back to Dallas. He's the captain of the ship, the Nortomo. I would think. Set immediately after the event of Aliens. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So yeah. But anyways, Dallas is there. I guess I like how the characters argue with each other, and how Dallas tries to keep everyone on board, and he does do things. Like, he's a leader who does put himself before others. Yeah, but before others, who does like do things that's people who probably want to live probably wouldn't do. He goes into the air shafts to get the alien to corner the alien, but then he dies. Like, there's like, I like that about him, and all these characters are very unique in that sense. But but yeah, Dallas is also like pretty unique, and but he dies pretty early on. We see the alien. Also, the alien in this movie does not come in until 30 minutes or something. Or like we don't get to the ship in 30 minutes, until like 30 minutes into the movie, which is fine. I like setup, and still, that is about an hour and 20 left of the movie, so I don't mind. I really don't mind that, but that's more for the plot. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about Dallas. Next up is Lambert. I mean, he's so fucking for real. I have no idea what Lambert did in the movie. She dies at the end. She survives somewhat the longest. She's the third longest to survive. No, she's the second longest to survive, because she dies not pretty immediately, but definitely but definitely, what do you call it, very late into the movie. So yeah, I like that, but she doesn't really do much in the plot itself. So yeah, but again, that's like I said, that's mostly all the characters, because what I'm going to guess was the intention is that these people are all, like I said, on equal footing. So you're meant to guess who's going to survive. Aside from that, except for for the next character we're going to talk about, which is Brett. Brett, I think, is the parrot. Not the parrot, but like the guy who parrots a lot of stuff that another character I think called what's his name again? Parker says. I think this is him. Lambert. Okay. Emotional weakness. I mean, yeah, she for at least for Lambert, I do agree that she was easy to sort of scare, and I think that was her downfall. Oh yeah, she did freeze there, so I gotta say that's interesting. I like how every character sort of embodies something different. Like, for example, like Brad just kind of follows things around, doesn't really care. He does what he's told. Uh, and Lambert is a lot more emotional and gets easily scared. So yeah, I like that about the characters. Like there's different ways. It's just that there's not a lot of depth to them aside from that. And Brett is no different. I think he's the first to die to the xenomorph that we see in that actually when it's fully formed and not fucking burst out. But yeah, he's just here for the paycheck. I gotta respect that. I guess. But yeah, he dies first, and that's really the most I can say about Brett. Doesn't do much aside from that. So yeah, there you go. Next up is Kane. What I like about Kane. I think he's the scientist. Yeah. Is that Kane? He's very curious, and that does lead to the downfall of everyone on the ship. And I guess in a way, so was Ash in a way, but I guess we'll see. We'll go through that when we get to Ash, which is the next character. But yeah, Kane I like because like you kind of I don't know. He was obviously gonna be the first to die, but not like because curiosity got the better of him, so you understood why he died first. Aside from that, he was again the first to die, so he didn't get much screen time. But yeah, I mean, there's that. He dies first, and that's really all I gotta say about him. He dies first. Yeah, and next up is Ash, which is a cyborg, like an android. I did not fucking expect that. I like what Ash, like what they did with Ash here, where he's there to follow orders. He's there to ensure the xenomorph can be studied and all that stuff, and that's not the case. And they don't let, and the crew doesn't really let him. So yeah, no, like I think it was an interesting choice to have him be on Android. That was that was a choice, but I think it worked because it made things like feel a lot more like the company like itself had a lot more control over it. There's a big large company that controls them all and stuff, but like this guy was there to make sure that if this happens, then the procedure goes as planned. So yeah. I think Ash was a cool little character, even if he just wasn't really like a real guy. But anyways, let's move on to our last character, Parker. What I like about Parker is that he's like he's mostly in the beginning he's mostly talking about like the bonuses and the shares and all that shit, whatever the fuck, and he's really apprehensive about going to the alien spacecraft. You should just fucking leave it. But then like they go, oh yeah, but the protocol says that we should not that we shouldn't leave like SOS signals unattended, so we should probably go there, and they do. And Parker like grows from being the guy who only really cares about the paycheck to trying to save everybody and dies in the process. So I guess kudos to that. But there's not much more to say about Parker. He does get a lot more angry when Brett dies, which I understand. Like they were partners in crime pretty much. So and I like that at least. Parker was at least one of the more interesting characters in this movie, which was cool. So let's just move on to the plot. Something that I like about the whole thing here is that it's mostly like the plot, like the movie happens because it's people being curious about alien life forms, because I'm guessing that's not like a really common thing that we see that's seen in this universe, at least in this sort of in this universe, in the Alien franchise, that they don't come across aliens all that often. And we also see like the people argue about what they need to do, and it's all about protocol. and and Ash is there to sort of embody all of that. Like, how should they follow protocol? Like, following protocol actually got them all killed. That was, I mean, except for Ripley. So that was interesting, and she was the one that broke that. So, breaking away from that allowed her to live, and like that's mainly what the movie is about. And honestly, I think it's well done, like very well done. So, again, like, kudos to that. This movie did it well. Like I said, the characters, they're not the best. You're not gonna get attached to them. And I think that does kind of drag the movie down, because what I would have done is that if I wrote Alien, which I don't think I'll ever write an Alien thing. It's not really. I don't think I'll ever do that. But what I was gonna say is I would have fleshed them out a little bit more, give them a lot more depth. So you not only do care about them, but but they're equally on the same footing still. So when they die, you're like, oh no, Brett died, or this guy, or Kane, or Lambert. Because when I watch this, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, somebody had to die. That's like my only real complaint, because everything else I think is done really solidly. The atmosphere in this movie is amazing. I gotta say, everything is like this dark thing. The alien spacecraft is gigantic, and in the movie, throughout the movie, we see that, like, there's like different compartments and all that stuff. And I like how like the plan is just to keep getting kind of smaller with the ships. Like, the ship is pretty big at the beginning, then to get to the planet they go kind of lower. They lower the size by just detaching a whole thing, and then Ripley escapes in a tiny little vessel. That was, I think that's cool. But like the atmosphere, everything being dark and being really big, so the alien could be anywhere, and using like the air ducts so it could pop out at any moment. That's really, really cool. And again, the space jockey like ship, with being like all mysterious and dark and all that shit. I think the atmosphere really added to the movie and added this feel and this tone of dread. Obviously, I didn't feel that, but like I appreciate it. That's where the horror comes from. Like, where is this thing? What is this thing? So, great stuff there, and the setting. I gotta give it. I like how in this movie a lot of the machinery that we see within the spacecraft is sort of slow. It gives this feeling that this universe, the Alien franchise is set in a world where Earth has only really just begun at space exploration, and it's still sort of like a slow state. Nothing's really fast. Everything's slow. Everything's like super. I guess I would feel like industrial. Like it feels like it's not like super sleek or anything. It feels like machinery. That's what it feels like, and I gotta say that's really, really cool. And obviously, people the company's skipping out on people. That's just a classic. I gotta give it, the setting of it all, I think, is really solid, and how they're a cargo ship. They're not they're like an actual like fighter ship and all stuff like this. There's different things. There's different ship types and all that. I think it's great. It gives depth to this world that we're in. So I think that the plot. I think that all of these things, setting, the atmosphere, really give this movie like a good thing. And sure, I think that the movie does kind of drag on, not drag on, but definitely people would feel like it drags on. We don't get to the xenomorph stuff until 30 minutes in, but it spent those 30 minutes like introducing like this world and how it all works and all that stuff. So I do appreciate it. I mean, it's the first movie; it has to do that. So yeah, but that's what I think. it doesn't feel slow. Like, sure, you can kind of say it feels slow, but for me, it doesn't. It doesn't feel fast. It feels like the adequate pace. Nothing feels rushed. There are some things that I feel like we could have done without this movie, to be completely fucking honest. The cat thing. The cat is such a goddamn problem for no reason. I'm guessing it's here for emotional support to everyone else on the ship, just to have a cat around, like a pet. But it is such a non-thing. But I guess it's mostly for Ripley's character. Ripley doesn't leave anything behind, including the cat. So, yeah. I guess it's there for that. I'm not sure, but I feel like a lot of times it's like left behind, and then it's like, oh yeah, I gotta pick up the fucking cat, and they run behind, and they run out, and they have to get the cat. It's like, come on, just keep the cat on you at all times. I don't fucking. It was like, it's not like it's such a non-issue to just not have it around. I don't know. At least like maybe it was like the cat is like a liability, so like, oh, they're gonna get the cat, but are they gonna get killed? You don't know. You don't know. Maybe, but yeah. I feel like the cat, we could have done with less of the cat, to be completely honest. But aside from that, I think Alien is a pretty solid movie, and there are some things they could have done better. But overall, I think everything here is solid and a great start to this franchise. I don't know if I've heard Aliens is better. I think I've heard Aliens is the best movie, which is saying something that the second movie is where it peaks. So yeah, I don't know how to feel about that, but we'll see when we get to Aliens at some point, probably soon, because I'm trying to catch up with everything else that we're behind, and yeah, Aliens is coming. It's supposed to be pretty soon in the pipeline, so we'll see. But aside from that, I'm gonna give Alien, the first movie, an A tier, which is right here. Yeah. Okay, so that was it. What did you guys think about Alien? Leave in the comments below. All of our socials on the description. And if you're on Spotify and want to stay up to date with our content, you can follow us. And if you wanna let us know if you like or dislike the content, you can rate us. And if you're on YouTube and want to do the same, you can subscribe to stay up to date with our content. You can like if you like the episode, dislike it if you dislike it, and you can share it if you think it's worth sharing. And that's about it. See ya.